Hey guys, this is Bill, Holy Virus the Blind Warrior Gamer, and today we're going to be doing a little bit of a different video that deviates away from the World of Warcraft content that I've been doing for some time now. I've been able to get my hands on the Nintendo Switch 2, the new hybrid console from Nintendo, and I wanted to showcase some of the functionality within the system that prompted me to get the device. There is some good to this, and there is some bad. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and look at some of these changes and showcase how they work, and then we will discuss. So, to start, we're going to go ahead and go into the system settings.
System settings, airplane mode, button, vertical list, 2 of 18.
And the first thing that you're going to notice is that the Nintendo Switch 2 is talking. So, there is a built-in screen reader and some additional accessibility functions within the Nintendo Switch 2 that greatly improve upon the Switch 1. So I'm going to go ahead and go down 6 to accessibilities. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Accessibility, button, 7 of 18. Button mapping, button.
And we're going to go ahead and go through some of these settings. So right now we are on button mapping. This allows you to adjust the button configuration of the controllers. This is helpful for people who have dexterity issues or have limited ability to use one or both of their hands.
Button mapping and quick settings, off, toggle button, text size, large.
The text size functionality allows you to adjust the size of the font within menus and some screens, not all, but it is useful because it does make some things a little bit more readable for those with low vision.
Bold text, on.
Bold text, along with the larger fonts, allows you to thicken the text, making it easier and more stand out to the eye.
Zoom, on.
The zoom feature
lets you zoom in by tapping home twice quickly.
As the screen reader indicated to you, allows you to double tap the home button to zoom in the screen. It does have some additional functionality, however, so I'm going to go ahead and double tap my home button, and as you can see, it zooms it in. I can then use my left stick to navigate around the screen to pan the zoomed area. I can use the Y button to zoom it out. If you zoom out all the way, it recenters the entire screen, and then when you zoom back in with X, it zooms in into the center of the screen, and it allows you to then move it around based on what you're trying to view. Now, while in the zoomed mode, if I hit the home button a single time, I can then use the arrows to navigate the menus or the screen without moving the zoomed window. I'm going to go ahead and zoom back out.
Mono audio, off, toggle button.
Monaural audio takes all of the stereo channels and puts it into where all of the sound comes out of each speaker simultaneously, and there is no difference between left, right, front, or back.
Text to speech. Use text to speech.
And then text to speech is the screen reader functionality for the Nintendo Switch 2.
Readout can be restarted by pressing and holding a control stick. Not all screens support screen reader functionality.
Now,
voice type, type 1.
One of the things that it notes is that not all screens support screen reader functionality, and I'm going to showcase that and show you where that is a problem for people that may be total or have low vision, such as that they're not able to read without a greater level of assistance, which includes myself. But before we do that, we're going ahead and show you that there is a secondary voice that you can have.
Text to speech.
So we also have a male voice. It isn't very expressive. It's kind of a basic text-to-speech voices. Truthfully, they almost remind me of the ones on Apple devices, but it's definitely not as robust as what you would find on an iOS or even an Android device. You can then adjust the text-to-speech speed. I tend to set mine a little faster. For those who are new to screen readers, you can definitely slow it down to make it easier to understand what is being read.
Text-to-speech volume, 217%.
You can adjust your text-to-speech volume. One of the things that's nice about the text-to-speech is that if you're in a game and a text-to-speech item appears on screen or is interacted with, it will reduce the audio of your game to make sure that the screen reader is more prominent.
Change speech to and from text during game chat.
And then you can change to and from speech to text or text to speech functionality within game chat. I have not been able to test any of the accessibility features within game chat because I don't have anyone on my friends list who has a Nintendo Switch 2 or with game chat enabled. So we're going to go ahead and go back to the home menu.
Button. Vertical list. Home menu.
And we're
Mortal
going
Kombat
to
11.
go over
Button.
to the
Horizontal
eShop,
list.
and I'm
1
going
of
to
13.
show you
Plus 2
where
options.
one of
Here are
my
a list of
biggest
items below.
complaints with the screen reader in the Nintendo Switch 2 is.
Invalid button. 11 of 13. Invalid button. 10 of 13. Nintendo Switch Online. Button. Horizontal list. 1 of 10. Game chat. Button. 2 of news. But Nintendo eShop.
There
Button.
it is. There's
4
my
of 10.
eShop.
Who's using Nintendo eShop?
So when I go into the
Coronavirus.
eShop,
Beyond this point, text on some screens can't be read out.
you get that notification that text on some screens cannot be read out. This is a problem. Why this is a problem is because it makes it very difficult or impossible for someone with low vision or blindness to be able to navigate the store and look for games that they may or may not want to buy. And so, like, if I go through the games list, nothing, no audio. Now, if there is a video for the game, it will automatically play that video. But no screen reader. And so there's this issue where I have no idea what I'm highlighting unless it plays a video, or I've got somebody here who can tell me, or if I were to have enough vision that if I were to double tap the home menu and find the text and then zoom in on that text, I might be able to read what it is. Generally speaking, I can't. And in most cases, like here in the eShop, it doesn't give you a text representation of what you're looking at. It just gives you a screenshot or a video. And so then you have to go into the object. So let's go into one here.
Text can't be read out beyond this point.
And it tells me text can't be read here. And then I have to zoom in. And then I have to try to go and search around the screen with the zoom function to try to determine what it is that I am looking at. So there's that problem. And the same problem
Show more. Button.
exists within the news feed.
Button. Nintendo Switch Online. Button.
So if I go
news.
to news,
Whose news feed do you
tell it I'm going to use my news feed.
Text can't be read out beyond this point.
Immediately tells you text can't be read beyond this point. And so my only option then is open up the article, zoom in, and then attempt to read it. Now, in my case, I can see that there's text there, but it's not clear enough for me to read. I have to get a set of magnifiers and then quite literally stick my face to the screen to be able to read the contents of what's before me. And even then, it's difficult, if not impossible. This is where I would usually go and get my wife and say, hey, what's on screen here? I'm not able to read this. And she'll give me she'll read it to me, or, just tell me what it may or may not be about, and then I can tell her whether or not I'm interested. The other thing to note is that the screen reader is not on by default on the Nintendo Switch. So your first time setup with the console will require sighted assistance to get into the system, because you cannot access the screen reader or any of the other additional accessibility options until you are at the home screen, where you can then go to System Settings and turn all of these options on.
Sleep mode. Button. System settings.
There are some games that have some accessibility features that are also very useful to people who are vision impaired or blind. One of those games that I play is Mortal Kombat. As you can see, I have Mortal Kombat 11 in my list of games that I have installed or owned. And that game does have a built-in screen reader for some segments of the game. Mortal Kombat 1 is far more robust. I do not have the Nintendo Switch version of that, however. I ended up getting that on PlayStation 5 because on Switch 1 I heard the game was pretty awful. I imagine that the Nintendo Switch 2 is basically the patch for that game to ensure 60 frames per second and a better visual experience, because you won't have such big drops in resolution. But as a blind gamer, I won't really notice the visual fidelity loss. The frame rate, however, and the responsiveness would be noticeable by someone who is blind, because we are so audio dependent and reaction dependent, especially in a fighting game. So I would imagine Switch 2 may be the fix for that. But there are games that are accessible to the blind on this console. There are functions that are here for those with vision impairment or blindness on this console. And we will go through and show some of those games and features as I get my hands on them, so that we can showcase how someone with vision impairment or visual loss in total are still able to play some of these games and work with the system in a successful manner. If you have any questions regarding Nintendo Switch 2 accessibility, or you just want to talk about the console in general, feel free to hit me up in the comments below. And of course, as always, like and subscribe. Any interaction helps with getting this out to the community of gamers around the world. There will be more World of Warcraft and Diablo 4 and other content that will come along as well as we move forward through this journey of being a blind gamer. Again, take care, have a good one, and peace out.